What if I told you that the banks already got paid the moment you signed, and the system runs on book entries, and there is a way to set off what they say you owe using a private accounting process? Now, I've studied consumer law, banking regulations, financial obligations, and negotiable instruments, and I'm here to show you how it works and why it's not taught in school. Now, before we dive into this video, this is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. Make sure to do your due diligence. You dig what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter if everything that I'm saying sounds like perfect language. I still want you to go tap into the information for yourself. Don't just trust me. Find the truth. Everything that my whole goal is to position you to understand the nature of the economy and the system that we're living in. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about is what a setoff is. Okay. We're going to be talking about how debt is created. We're going to be talking about the private accounting and the discharge process. We're going to talk about the conditions for setoff to work. So make sure you stay all the way to the end so that you can get this game that we're about to talk about. All right. Now, another thing that I want you to do is, if you're brand new, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Some of you guys watch this video and don't hit the like button, but we want to make sure we are at the top of the algorithm so that people can see this type of content. All right. Talking about things behind the scenes, I'm telling you, nobody is talking about this. All right. So make sure to like, comment. Remember to share this video because, again, this is what we need to hear. Okay, so let's dive straight in. First thing I want to talk about is what a setoff is, okay? Because we get many misconceptions, and when it comes to debt discharge, we don't understand some of these terms and what they mean. And setoff may sound as simple as, oh, my debt is going to be set off, or whatever the case may be. But what a setoff is a legal remedy where one party cancels a liability by offsetting it with a claim that they're owed. Okay? It's typically backed by common law, trust law, and UCC. So understand, when you hear things like setoff, it's not theoretical. There is legal merit behind setting off your debts. And banks use it all the time for their own debts. Why can't you? And that's the thing. You can. These are the questions that you'll ask yourself. Understanding that everyone has the ability to set off debt, including the banks, including the companies, will put you in a better position of growth, okay? Especially in this economy, because that means you can acquire debt, and if you can't pay it, you can just set it off. You dig what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with setting it off. People look at setting off your debt or discharging your debt as it's immoral, but that's literally what you're supposed to do. Okay. What if I told you that your dollar bill was a set off dollar? Okay. And that's the only way you knew how to set off debt, was by paying X company with the Federal Reserve note. Okay. So how debt is actually created. Okay, debt is created typically from loans, credit cards, when you sign a promissory note. Okay, a promissory note is a promise to pay order. That promise to pay order is also an obligation. You dig what I'm saying? So if we understand that your promissory note is an obligation, that obligation is also a financial asset to the bank. Your signature creates obligations. Your signature made that promissory note a financial asset to the bank. I don't care how many times I have to repeat this, because even when we go and I talk to people that want to do bill of exchange, they want to write their own promissory note, they want to, use a coupon or whatever the case may be. The first legal premise and foundation that you have to understand is that you already have given a financial instrument. Okay. And all you're doing is setting off your debt. Okay. Now, with your promissory note, it's also deposited. When you look at the definition of deposit, deposit means a unpaid balance. Unpaid balance. Deposit. So if I look up the definition of deposit, okay, deposit means a unpaid balance of money or its equivalent received. Okay, So I talk about this a lot because they literally owe you money. That's the definition of deposit. It's an unpaid balance. It's an accounting entry to let you know that something has been unpaid. You dig what I'm saying? So for them to make you think that they are creating money or giving or loaning you money is false. All right. And all you need to do is really set off this accounting entry or submit your certificate of indebtedness to set off the debts. Okay. So that note, that promissory note, gets treated like an asset, and essentially instead of giving you an asset back, they issue you credit. Okay. So this is double entry bookkeeping, which means that boom, your debit equaled an asset and your credit is now a liability. Okay. So essentially when it comes to private accounting and discharge, you have a right to request full accounting under UCC 9-210. You have a right to request your instrument or enforce your tender, whether it's a coupon, whether it's a promissory note. You're able to enforce that as a negotiable instrument under UCC 3-603. If you utilize UCC 3-603 in any of your tender of payment arguments, if you're planning to tender a payment under UCC 3-603, it says that if you tender a payment, send a negotiable instrument to a company and they refuse it or deny it, then there is discharge. Okay? According to the UCC, it says that a negotiable instrument is an unconditional offer of money or promise to pay. Dig what I'm saying? It says that a definition of tender is a performance to meet an obligation. Nowhere in it does it say that you only can use a dollar bill to tender a payment. You understand me? So you can tender a negotiable instrument to set off debts, all right? Whether it's a money order, whether it's remittance, whether it's a bonded promissory note, whatever the case may be, you can use negotiable instruments to set off debt, just like the dollar bill is a negotiable instrument. The dollar bill is an IOU dollar. You understand me? So in order for the set off to work, okay, here are some conditions in order for the set off to work. Number one, there must be a mutual debt. Okay, they claim you owe and you claim they owe the original deposit. So what happens is they're going to say that you owe X amount of dollars, but you're going to say that you never got that. All right. Y'all had a duty to give me X amount of dollars. If I went and I applied for a 100K loan, then I expected to get 100K in lawful money, or at least 100K from your reserves. But you didn't give me that. You created credit. So that means that I literally created credit based off of my signature of that promissory note. Okay. So they may claim that you owe, but you can also claim that they never even gave you what they are claiming that you owe. And we can easily go back to a deposit, which is an unpaid balance. If it's an unpaid balance, then you're literally telling me that you loaned me money. But this is why it's so important. You're literally telling me that you didn't loan me money, that you still owe me money. But this is why it's important to think outside the box when it comes to anything dealing financial, because what's happening in front of you is not what it actually is. You may think that a bank is loaning you money, but the reality is they're not. Okay? There is a duty for them to not only be clear on their accounting, but also for you to be clear on your accounting. And these things must be disclosed. So this is why the UCC Article 9 gives you the ability to ask for these certain accounting disclosures. Okay? And it must be clear. And a failure to respond may trigger dishonor and commercial default. So when you start to challenge a company using the UCC, using the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, using the Truth in Lending Act, and now enforcing their duty to respond, their duty to provide information that they are required to provide, and they're unable to provide those disclosures to you based on what you asked, that right there is unlawful. That is dishonorable. Okay? That can lead to a default. So if they default, then it's not even an argument about you paying debt anymore. Now it's an argument about settling based off of how they have defaulted. This can work for a collection. This can work for a charge off. This can work for an open loan, whatever the case may be. But if you decide to go this route, you have to make sure that you are understanding of the risk. You understand what's going to happen. All right. And you're not going to give up. You're going to be consistent. You're going to send your letters on a consistent basis. You're going to take them through a process. You're going to know exactly what it is that you are asking them for and telling them to do. You lay out the consequences of their dishonor. Okay. You give them an opportunity to cure. You take them through the administrative process. You shift the burden of proof onto them. Hey, I will prove X, Y, and Z if you can prove this. But a lot of times we get pressed over the negotiable instrument part, but that's literally the first step. Okay. And when that doesn't work, you automatically believe that set off or discharge is a myth, but it's already written in a law that set off is available for you. It's already written in the law that discharge is available, and we're just not going the full distance. We're not taking them all the way to non-compliance or even using their non-compliance against them. Oh, well, they ignored me. Well, yes, they're going to ignore you because they know they're wrong. All right. So if they know they're wrong, if you knew you was wrong, would you keep, putting yourself in a position that makes you even more wrong? Or would you just allow that person to just assume that you're right? Because most people assume that they are right because they're in a position of where they are asking for permission. And that's what I try to keep people from doing. The whole point of us diving into this debt discharge conversation is not because I don't want you to pay your debts. It's literally because I want you to start thinking outside the box. And once you start thinking outside the box about this right here, it's going to open the door for you to start thinking outside the box in other places in your life, whether it's to be a business owner, whether it's to be financial, right? Whether it's to do better in nutrition or whatever the case may be. Maybe your debt is keeping you from accomplishing the things that you want in life. But that's why my job is to tell you that it's not something that should keep you from accomplishing what you want to do in life. It should literally be treated as such. Something to perform on, there are multiple ways to perform on there. Okay. Performance doesn't mean use your dollar. The only performance that they want is your time, labor, and attention. They just want you to spend your time and labor working so that you can pay off the debt. What if I told you there was other ways that you can do that? What if I told you that you can communicate with the debt collector and potentially back them in a corner to where now they have to pay you for their non-compliance? Okay. So a part of in order for your set off to work, you want to make sure that when you do create your coupon, you do create your promissory note, you send them a notice of tender and let them know exactly what it is in that notice of tender. A part of that, you want to include an affidavit of truth that would lay out the statement of facts, things that you know to be true. And if it goes unrebutted, then it must be true. And then a notice of set off, right? Close of escrow, things like that to let them know that, hey, look, as an operation of me taking this administrative process privately, seeing that you guys haven't responded, then I'm going to put you on notice that this debt has been set off unless proven otherwise. And I'm not going to accept you saying, oh, I agreed to pay, because I already debunked that. I already challenged that. And I asked you to provide me a true valid contract, and you couldn't. Okay. Now, obviously, they're going to be in a position where they're going to tell you, no, you can't do this, or whatever the case may be, or they won't rebut, or whatever the case may be. You want to send them a fault and dishonor, a certificate of non-response. Hey, look, I see you didn't respond, and because you didn't respond, I'm going to assume you acquiesce. Okay. So because you acquiesce, this is putting you on notice that this is discharged and set off according to UCC 3-603, according to UCC 3-501. Because under a presentment, when I send you a presentment, that is a demand. A demand requires a performance. If you don't perform on my demands as the consumer, then you are violating the UCC regulations. I'm more compounding and free forming talking about this because, I can go to different laws and I can show you guys the laws, but maybe you guys just need me to just talk to you directly and tell you that this is real. It just takes knowing the process. It takes understanding how to communicate with them. And once you know how to communicate with them, you build your own case. You create your own private remedy. And going to court is you just showcasing that you have already done the mediation. And they decided to ignore. They decided to dishonor. They decided to not respond. And that's where the problem is going to arise for them. Is them not responding. Okay? You can do things like back it up with UCC filings, security agreements, doing private liens and things of that nature. That's to enhance the process. You can get well versed in the GAAP, okay, the generally accepted accounting principles, so that you can know that there are certain disclosures that you should be entitled to as it pertains to the double entry bookkeeping, okay, where it's going to break down and show you that your loan is an asset on their books, okay, and that they are obligated to report both sides of the obligation or of the transaction. You can look at FAS 140 and ASC 860 about off-balance sheet transactions. Okay, they both address the accounting for transfers and servicing of financial assets and the extinguishment of liabilities. Okay, it explains how your promissory note may be securitized and sold, often paying the lender back up front, which you can use as an argument to settle the obligation. You can look at 12 USC 95A, which essentially breaks down that the government and the banks have the power to set off transactions and obligations, especially during emergencies or financial processes. Okay. You can look at E3-604, where it talks about discharge by cancellation or renunciation. Okay. All of these laws are put in place not just for you to just look at them for fun. They're literally put in place to show you that you have the right to discharge, set off debt, that all of this stuff is real. It's very real. You just have to become confident in the information that you see, whether it's going to be the UCC, whether it's going to be 12 USC 95A, whether it's going to be the FDCPA and how to communicate with debt collectors, whether it's going to be the Fair Credit Reporting Act, how to remove these negative items off your credit report. Because even if you do all of this, some people are looking for the remedy of it coming off their credit report, and some people are looking for the remedy of them stopping the contact. Okay. Some people are looking for a remedy of, I want my money back, right? Each remedy requires different processes, but as long as you understand the fundamental process of communicating with a debt collector, whether you're going to do it through yourself as the debtor, through a private trust, making sure that you're putting them on notice of who you are in this argument and what position you take and substantiate your argument and claim, then you can take this evidence into court and use this against them. Hey, I asked you guys, where'd you guys get the money from? And you guys couldn't tell me where you got the money from. You couldn't prove to me that you actually loaned me money. And according to the accounting principles, according to FAS 40, according to 12 USC 95A, according to UCC 3-604, according to UCC 3-603, according to the Truth in Lending Act, according to X, Y, and Z, I know that this is a note that became an asset to you. But also at the same time, I know that I'm entitled to know these things. I'm entitled to be disclosed these things. And it's not that I'm saying that you didn't loan me anything. Or as a matter of fact, that's what I am saying. I just want you to prove that what I'm saying is not true. I don't want you to just tell me it's not true. And I don't want you to just tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I want you to prove it, or else you acquiesce. Because if you are someone that loaned me money, then just show me where you got the money from. If you can show me that you got it from your reserves, then we can have a conversation. I don't care about an agreement that was not following those fundamentals of the contract law. Because under a contract, if I ask you specific details about the contract, you must provide it. And this is just under the Truth in Lending Act. But then we can just go to contract law. So my mic went out while I was recording. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and just wrap up this video. What I was saying was that we'll go to contract law directly and we can use that against them. The disclosure principles, the fact that they must we must have a meeting of the minds. The fact that, there are foundations that make a contract enforceable. And if it doesn't meet those, then whatever contract that they're saying you agree to isn't something that they can enforce without meeting those criteria of a contract. So when you understand these concepts, this is how you can position yourself to set off your debt, discharge your debt, but also at the same time enforce it if they try to BS you. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and wrap it up there. My mic is charging. You dig what I'm saying? Bear with me. I appreciate you guys for getting all the way to the end of this video. Remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Remember to tap in down below with the complete debt guide. The complete debt guide is going to have templates, jargons, the letters that I mentioned in this in this video is going to be on the in the complete debt guide. Also at the same time, the system will operate. It operates in silence, okay? But you never meant to know this. You were never meant to be taught this. And this is what I have wrapped up in my complete debt guide. Number 2, you want to work with me one-on-one. If it's about fixing your credit and getting funding, then that is what you want to tap into. You want to press that link. Go ahead and schedule and book a call with myself or my team. Remember, it's a very strict application process, so you may get denied, but that's okay. It's only pointing you in the right direction depending on how you answer. Number 3, tap them on my Instagram at biz.nick. Tap on my Twitch at biz_nick. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. And if you got this far, comment the word discharge. And I'll see you in the next one.